Alright, we're going to get going here in a second. Just waiting for people to come on in. Week 15, Arena Football League. 4 weeks to go. Like always, I'll wait about 2 minutes. Try to get some people in here first. Then we'll get going. Let's see. We go over the Cleveland Gladiators at Philadelphia Soul, Jacksonville Sharks at Arizona Rattlers, Orlando Predators at the Portland Steel, and the Monday night cap, the Tampa Bay Storm at the Los Angeles Kiss. See, there's 2 in here. Welcome in. Make sure you use the chat feature. Let's get this interactive going, a little chat going. Gonna get started here in about a minute. AFL Fan Zone Week 15 Tuesday evening quarterback, or better known as the recap show. So while we're still waiting, of course, follow us on Facebook, AFL Fan Zone, Twitter, same thing, AFL Fan Zone, or me personally, Arena FB Outsiders, and yeah, get all the information that you need. We got about 20 seconds and we'll get going here. Alrighty. Oh. Here we go. Alrighty. Week 15 in the Arena Football League. We had 4 games, like I mentioned. We had Cleveland Gladiators at Philadelphia Soul, which is, if we would have done a game of the week, that would have been the one that had the most riding on it. And then we had Jacksonville Sharks at Arizona Rattlers, Orlando Predators at the Portland Steel, and to finish off, the Tampa Bay Storm at the LA Kiss. But real quick before we get going, if you follow us on Facebook and you're into stats, and AFL Digital is a great tool. Obviously they're the first one to get you all the stats that you need, but if you like it sortable, you just want to see all the different stats, a little bit more than what AFL Digital gives you all in one area, then check us out on Facebook. I post the stat book each week. I just posted the one this morning, so make sure you follow over there, and make sure you have a spreadsheet app, whether it's Excel or anything else like that, to actually view it so you can sort it. But otherwise, let's get right into it. So first game, Cleveland Gladiators at the Philadelphia Soul. Of course, the Soul won 83-62. This game didn't exactly go how I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a lot closer. I know Philly's been really dominant at home, but I still thought that Cleveland was going to be able to. I thought Cleveland was going to be able to get in there and at least make a game out of it. It looks a lot closer than the game really played out to be. Just, they could not stop Rodabaugh. Rodabaugh finished the game 20-21 with 8 touchdowns. No matter what Cleveland did, they just couldn't. They couldn't stop them. And every time they would try to get a little bit of momentum, or get a score, Philly would just turn around and score right back. They didn't get stopped the entire game. I mean, that's how you get 83 points. They even returned a kickoff for a touchdown. Darius Reynolds did. So they were just on fire. Cleveland couldn't stop what Philly had to offer. It was a nice show for the folks in Allentown that's maybe never been to an arena game before. Second neutral site game, of course, for Philadelphia. So, yeah, I mean, big game for both of these teams coming up. Philadelphia, of course, a lot easier. They got Tampa Bay, but Philly's got Tampa Bay this weekend, and then they got a bye week, and then they finish the year off in Orlando. So even though Tampa Bay's struggling, that's still a big game. They got to make sure they get through that one injury-free. and get into their bye week and really try not to look ahead to Orlando, because Tampa Bay shown when they beat Arizona that they can beat a top flight team. On the other side, Cleveland, that'll be the game of the week this week. Cleveland at LA. It just has the most riding on it this week. Cleveland, if they beat LA by more than 6 points, they have locked in the 4 seed, and no matter what happens the rest of the season for both teams, because that would put Cleveland at 8-7, or sorry, my apologies. They would put Cleveland, 8-7. I didn't know 8-7. That would put Cleveland at LA's right now sitting at 6-7, with 2 games to go. So at best, they'd both be 8-8, and Cleveland would have the tiebreaker. So if Cleveland wants to get that 4 seed, all they got to do is beat LA this week by more than 6 points. Second game of the week. Oh wait, no, Philly's on. They're tough to beat. Yeah, I mean, Philly's struggled. They just have one game here and there where they just don't seem to want to show up, or just they can't get going. But when they're on like that, I mean, they could do that to anybody, especially at home. If any team wants to win the Arena Bowl, I suggest try to knock Philly out of that 1 seed, because if it's Philly all the way through and they get the 1 seed and host the Arena Bowl, I think it's already over. Philly is, barring an upset or a injury, Philly's going to be tough to beat. I mean, they got last year where they were the best team coming out or entering the playoffs, losing in the first round to Jacksonville. They definitely are a hungry team. So let's see. Game 2 was the Jacksonville Sharks at Arizona Rattlers. Surprisingly great game. I really thought Jacksonville would kind of come out stale after having the bye week and having the bad loss against Cleveland in Week 13. But they came out to play. They lost by 2, and coincidentally, that would be the 2 extra points that Lindsey Wolf missed. So that was really the difference in the game, was 2 missed extra points by Lindsey Wolf for Jacksonville. They tried to do a 2-point conversion, of course, at the end. Joe Hill scored with less than 10 seconds to go, but unfortunately for Jacksonville, they were unable to convert, and it was just another game Jacksonville lost in the final seconds. I mean, I don't know how many it is now, but it's crazy how many they've lost like that. Arizona only had a 1-point lead when they scored with like 2.5 minutes to go. So good on Jacksonville to basically, great time management. They wasted the entire rest of the quarter and then scored with less than 10 seconds to go. But like I said, they missed the extra point, or missed a 2-point conversion, didn't get the onside kick, and like I said, they ended up losing by 2. Let's see. If I booked a Philly for the Arena Bowl, bought them right before they lost. Yeah, I mean, back to Philly. Yeah, I predicted at the beginning of the season it would be Philly in Arizona for the Arena Bowl. It looks like it could be the other way around. It could be Arizona in Philly for the Arena Bowl. So we'll see. Arizona just needs to continue to win. I believe, from what I saw earlier, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe Arizona, if they win out, they will be Arena Bowl or they will be the number 1 seed, as long as Philly beats Orlando, of course. They own the tiebreaker against Philly, because they've scored more in the second game than Philly did the first one. So they own the tiebreaker against Philly, and then Orlando plays in Arizona. So if they win out and they win by a good margin, I can't remember the exact point total, but they win by a good margin against Orlando, then they hold the tiebreaker against both teams. And Arizona's got Cleveland and Orlando at home to finish off the season, and then they're on a bye Week 18. As of right now, yes, Orlando is the 1 seed. They are 12-2, but they have games at Arizona, and they have a home game against Philly. So yes, as of now, if the season were to end today, Orlando would be the number 1 seed. But based on those 2 games, obviously if they win out, they get the 1 seed. But they gotta go to Arizona and beat Arizona, and then they gotta beat Philly at home. All right, and then So like I said, this week Arizona hosts Orlando. That's obviously a huge game that has so many playoff implications going on. Orlando needs to win, of course, like I said, if they want to get the 1 seed, win the American side. Um, Arizona's already clinched with their win and the Cleveland's loss last week. Arizona has clinched the National Conference, so they will be the number 1 or number 2 seed. So obviously, the top 3 seeds, we know what the teams are going to be, but Arizona's going to be the 1 or 2 because they've already clinched the conference. And then the other side, obviously, it's either Philly or Orlando. Um, on the other side, Jacksonville. Jacksonville has, what do they have this week? Jacksonville is at Portland. And, I mean, that seems like it should be an easy one for Jacksonville, but Portland just seems to be playing pretty tough lately. They almost beat Orlando. They actually had a lead there in the second half. We'll go over that in a second, but yeah, watch out, Jacksonville. Portland may steal one. I said a couple weeks ago that I thought Portland was going to steal one of these last few games, so this could be it. Jacksonville's basically played themselves out of the 4 seed. I mean, they would have to win out, and then Cleveland lose out, LA win this week, and then lose the last 2 games for Jacksonville to get to the 4 seed. So they need a lot of help, and they need to beat a couple good teams. So I don't see it happening, but it's not completely out of the realm of possibility that Jacksonville could still get the 4 seed. Let's see. Game 3 was that one. Orlando at Portland. That was a late one. Saturday night. Like I said, they found some doubt in this game. They were up at half. Portland came out and played pretty well in the third quarter. Held a lead, I think a 1-point lead, and then Orlando, of course, came back and won by 6. And I mean, this is what Orlando's done all season. They have they've won these kind of games where you think, okay, they're going to go in there, they're going to blow them out, and they barely beat them. They both games against LA were like that, where they ended up only winning by 5 or less points. Portland was like that. Both times they played Portland was like that. I mean, they just had these games where they don't play well enough to dominate, but they play well enough to win, and they're a clutch team. So obviously that bodes well for the playoffs, because they have a lot of these close games that matter, experience, and they end up winning those. But Orlando, they really need to start blowing some teams out, I think. I don't think they're going to be able to do that against Philly and Arizona and those kind of teams once the playoffs start. So, but they won this one. They're 12-2, still top in the league. Like I said before, still number 1 seed. Portland, like I said, has been playing ridiculously tough. If Shane Austin can stop turning the ball over, then Portland has a chance to knock off a couple teams and maybe play a team tough there in the playoffs. If you guys remember, I believe it was last year, Portland got in at like 4-12 or something like that, pretty low, and they almost beat Arizona in Arizona. So obviously that was the Thunder, but still it was Portland, a lot of the same players. So you can't overlook Portland. I still think Portland's going to win one of these last few games. But like I said before, Portland hosts Jacksonville this week. Orlando goes to Arizona, and it's gonna be an interesting week next week. All right, and then the week topper was Monday night. Tampa Bay at LA. All right, how to start this one? Okay, so LA decided to put Nathan Stanley back in the starting lineup, and he definitely showed some rust. I mean, he barely threw over 50%. He only threw 4 touchdowns. He could only muster 14 points in the first half. They were tied with Tampa Bay, 14-14 all at the half. I mean, I don't really know why they went back to Stanley. His numbers were worse than Pete Thomas's. Pretty much across the board were worse, except for completion rating. So I don't know why, but they went back to Nate Stanley. He played well in the second half. They ended up winning by 27. But I mean, it's Tampa Bay. It's the worst team in the league. So I still think that they need to go back to Pete Thomas if they have any chance of doing anything in the playoffs. Nothing. Stanley didn't show anything last night to make me think that, hey, they have a chance to really make some noise. I don't see it. I don't know what they see in Stanley. But other than that, Tampa Bay, Jason Boltis. I mean, he put up one touchdown. I know that Adam Kennedy isn't any better, but he's younger. I just think that Lawrence Samuels should just go to Adam Kennedy. I mean, we've seen what we're going to see out of Boltis. I just don't. I don't see why they continue to go that route. I mean, I'm pretty sure Adam Kennedy can throw one touchdown a game. I mean, he went in there, played a series, and ran for a touchdown. So he equaled the touchdowns of one series that Boltis had the rest of the game. So, I mean, in only putting up 21 points, I think they need to start Adam Kennedy, basically. And then, obviously, the news story that came out of this game, with about 45 seconds left, there was a massive brawl in the end zone. There were a couple members of the fans that came in and was throwing punches at teammates. Apparently, we come to find out that those were a couple inactive players for LA that were punching Tampa Bay players. But I don't know for sure. Obviously, there was no official release on who they were. But either way, there's going to be a lot of suspensions coming from that. I mean, that was like a 3.5-minute brawl there at the end. Punches thrown everywhere. Refs were getting punched. So bad where I've never seen a game actually end on a fight like that. So there was 45 seconds left. LA had just scored to go up, was it 47-21 or 48-21, something like that. And the huge fight breaks out. Refs finally get some kind of control over it, and they basically shut the game down. They said, game's over, all these unsportsmanlike conduct penalties. So the game actually ended with about 40 to 45 seconds left in the game because of how big the fight was. So it's going to be very interesting to see who gets suspended from that game, and what the league plans on doing to these teams. So obviously make sure you stick around to the Facebook page, Twitter page. We'll keep you updated on that. But that was week 15. That was a nightcapper. I mean, it was kind of a slow-going game, especially in the first half, but LA ended up pulling it out in the end. So, with that being said, let's look at the... Oh, geez, hold on. I had this up. Crap. Alright, so, I don't know what happened. So, basically, the standings for going into it, we got Orlando still number 1. Arizona's number 2. Obviously, because they're winning they're ahead of the National Conference. They already clinched it. 3 is Philadelphia. 4 is Cleveland. 5 is LA. Jacksonville 6. Tampa Bay Portland 6 or Portland 7. Tampa Bay's 8. Playoff scenarios, like I said before, Arizona needs to win out to get and win comfortably against Orlando, and they could get the number 1 seed. Philly needs to win out. Obviously, they need to beat Orlando and hope that Orlando can knock off Arizona. So Philly needs some help from Orlando, and then they need to beat Orlando to get that 1 seed. As far as the 4, 5, and 6, Cleveland's they're in the driver's seat. They just got to beat LA by more than 6 points, and they clinch it this week. If they don't win, then they need some help from LA in the last couple weeks, because Cleveland then goes to Arizona. So unless they have a great game, you can't imagine that Cleveland's going to go to Arizona and beat them. So 4, 5, and 6 is really up in the air right now. 7 and 8, Portland, Tampa Bay. Portland could win this week, or they still play each other again. Portland, Tampa Bay does. So that could be the difference if Tampa Bay beats Portland the second time. But that's the standings. Let's see. Did an amazing job with having to go to their number 2 quarterback. Yeah, you're right, Scott. Definitely is, amazing how well they've been able to play with Bernard. But to be fair, Bernard Moore should be starting in this league. I think he's definitely done enough to where next year, if maybe Washington can get him, or If there's any more expansion teams, Bernard Morris, maybe even Tampa Bay, maybe he can go across and play for Tampa. I think he deserves a starting role in this league. Randy Hibbert, I think, has established himself as a starter there in Orlando, so I think Bernard Morris needs to get a chance somewhere else. Same with Pete Thomas. If LA is going to continue to go with Stanley, I think Pete Thomas has shown, even in the limited playing time, that he's good enough to be given the reins somewhere, and they can build with it. Yeah, Brian, I really think Bernard Morris would do wonders for you guys there in Tampa Bay with the way he can run. He's a well enough passer, and you guys just need a line. Tampa Bay just needs a line. I mean, Bolts was getting destroyed there in the first half. Yeah, so you're right, Scott. So the league's been talking. If you watched, what game was that? Arizona and Jacksonville. They interviewed Commissioner Scott Butera. If I was still doing the weekly updates as of right now, like I will be doing once I get to the new place, this would be probably one of the bigger stories. The Commissioner Scott Butera said they've been talking to 6 teams, 6 cities. Hopefully, even if they can only get a couple out of that, bring the league up to 10, 12 teams, something like that. Would be great for next season. There's a bunch of teams that Morris could go to. And if Morris wants to stay in Florida, like I said, he can go to Tampa. It's not that big, not that far, and Tampa's obviously going to be looking for a quarterback after this season. So, all right, Players of the Week. Let's get into that real quick, shall we? All right, here we go. AFL Awards, Week 15, Players of the Week. Offensive Player of the Week, obviously, he's going to go to Dan Rodabaugh. 20 of 21, 335 yards, 8 touchdowns, no picks. I mean, he's the number 1 quarterback in our book, so it's pretty easy to see there. The Defensive Player of the Week goes to Orlando's Paul Stevens. Let's see here. It says he 4-year veteran, 5 tackles, 1 pick, and 2 pass breakups. So there's your Defensive Player of the Week. The J. Lewis Small Playmaker of the Week goes to Rod Windsor of Arizona. He had 10 receptions, 108 yards, 6 touchdowns. Number 2 in the league with 129 receptions for 1,500 yards, 40 touchdowns, and 246 points in 2016. Coverage Catch of the Week goes to Orlando receiver Greg Carr. Made a great 37-yard touchdown grab following the end zone in Orlando's 47-41 win over the Steel. And the highlight of the week goes to Darius Reynolds for his 37-yard touchdown catch in their win over Cleveland. So there's that. That was your Players of the Week, Week 15. Last but not least, let's go over the let's take a look at the power rankings. So power rankings going into Week 16. Of course, Philadelphia wins. They win handily. They're still the number 1 team. Number 2, Arizona. Tough game against Jacksonville, but they haven't lost in quite a while now, so they're still number 2. Orlando's number 3. They almost lost to Portland, but like I said before, they were able to pull it off in the end. Orlando stays at 3. Cleveland's 4. I mean, even though they didn't really show up against Philadelphia there, LA is still a game behind them, so they haven't done enough, and LA didn't exactly blow the doors off of Tampa Bay, so Cleveland stays at 4. The Kits are at 5. Jacksonville 6. Jacksonville just can't buy a break this year. I think they're going to be the 6th seed, but that's where they're at right now. Portland 7. Keep playing tough. Got to give Coach James a lot of credit there. And Tampa Bay is 8. Of course, I'll be posting those tomorrow, so make sure you stay tuned to the Facebook page. That'll be on there. Same with the quarterback rankings. It'll be released tomorrow. But lost sound. So, I mean, that basically does it for Week 15. A little bit of news. Next weekend is probably going to be the last one for this season for the Tuesday evening quarterback. We transfer up to Michigan, and I'm going to be in and out so I'm not going to be able to have stable enough internet to be able to do the posts. So unless something happens, this next week will be the last Tuesday evening quarterback. But of course, I'll still try to continue to do the preview videos, and obviously we're still going to post news and all that stuff on the Facebook page. So make sure you like both our Facebook pages. It's AFL Fan Zone and also the fan discussion page. And then Twitter, of course, everything gets posted there as well. And check out our website, aflfanzone.com. But that does it for your Week 15 recap. Hope you guys enjoyed the games. Stay tuned for Thursday, of course. Like I said before, it's going to be Cleveland at LA for your AFL Fan Zone Game of the Week. And I will see you guys next week. Take it easy.